Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're taking a look at a rather controversial episode of NBC's Law & Order SVU, Special Victims Unit. Titled InfoWars, the story infuriated conservatives last Wednesday when a fictional right-wing political pundit was brutally raped as a plot device that led to partisan dialogue among liberal characters. The episode featured a blonde, faux pundit named Martha Cobb, who was sexually assaulted after Antifa protesters and white supremacists clash, and interrupted her political rally. The assault resulted in fictional members of the NYPD arguing about politics while investigating the case. In this episode, and this story is particularly troubling for Millie Weaver, the actual InfoWars reporter NBC based their faux pundit on. Was this episode some sort of weird rape, murder, fantasy thing Law & Order wanted to act out on live TV? Keeping in mind their liberal bias and the overtly negative portrayals of the conservatives in the show, I would say it's highly possible and certainly troubling to think about. So today, we're going to go over this episode, summarize the plot, explain some of the references, and more. Let's go ahead and get started.
How dare we continue to glorify Thomas Jefferson, a slave owner who raped his slave mistress? Exactly.
Things started off at a political rally on a college campus. A sexy blonde speaks about first how Jefferson and Susan B. Anthony hated African Americans, and even how Gandhi called them savages. Then she mentions the statues the leftists are tearing down, which ironically isn't these people but others like Jefferson Davis and Andrew Jackson, both Democrats by the way. Then we see two sides of the crowd, both glaring stereotypes. One is Antifa wearing black with communist signs. The other are the Republicans, some even wearing red MAGA hats. The demonstration quickly goes south as all sides clash and erupt into chaos. The blonde speaker tries to duck away, but she disappears though. That is until later when a police officer discovers her in an alley around the corner. She's knocked out on the floor with blood in her crotch, seemingly raped, but she's not dead yet. Next, the detectives begin their investigations. They discover a sign with blood on it and go looking for another piece of it. Here we get a few juicy references like a sign that says alt-right delete, pretty self-explanatory. Then there's a pretty funny moment where the girl detective sees a sign that says diversity is white genocide, which of course she scoffs at. And finally, they find the missing part of their bloody sign. It was on a sign with a hammer and a rose on it, but these crackpot detectives aren't sharp enough to realize that's a communist hammer, and that's obviously an Antifa sign. I'm guessing they discover that part soon. Next, the detectives interview the conservative club representative who hired the blonde speaker, and this cop guy on the right just shows all his bias right out the gate.
Yeah.
Well, you paid Martha Cobb to come speak here. Who was invited?
It was a Facebook event open to anyone interested in what Martha had to say.
Okay, so white supremacists, Nazis, wannabe KKK members, any group I'm missing?
We hate being associated with that crap, but it's not our place to turn people away.
Yeah, you're missing the much larger and significant group of American conservatives who voted for Trump because we could no longer stand by and watch liberals destroy this country. We're not white supremacists, Nazis, or KKK members. Are you fucking serious, dude? Sounds like you're just shouting out buzzwords to me. Now, I don't know if this guy or the show's writers have been watching, but it's been Antifa and the left who have been terrible and violent lately, calling everyone to the right of Stalin a Nazi, and that's not going to help the liberals in their violence and PR problems. Next, we take a look at the left-wingers on campus and their hangout, unironically called a safe space.
This is a safe space. We're here for support, not to incite.
A safe space for Antifa?
We didn't turn anyone away, but I got nervous when the Black Bloc Antifa contingent showed up. I mean, I'm against fascism, but I believe in peaceful protest.
And I'd like to make a big note about this hot feminist liberal chick. Real lefties don't look like this. They're not hot and well-dressed. Has this show ever seen a liberal rally or protest? The feminists and lefties are all disgusting pigs wearing ugly, crappy clothes and nose rings and bright-colored hair. This lefty girl on the show shouldn't look hot and reasonable. She should look ugly, fat, and out of control like this. The hot lefty girl even has the balls to say the riots were started by the white supremacists. And while I'm not sure how things went down in this episode, I do know that Antifa are the ones actually starting the violence and rallies and protests in the real world. And this just shows Law & Order is trying to add to the false narrative that the right starts the fights. Just like how the media tried to say that about Charlottesville. And I think if you've been watching and really paying attention, we all know that's simply not true. Even in this story, it sounds similar. Both Charlottesville and this episode featured rallies set up by conservative groups, who did so legally and by the books and got permits and everything. And then the left-wingers and Antifa show up and start problems and violence and all kinds of bad shit. Who would you put the blame on in this situation?
Well, we should still sort through them because some people really hate her.
You know she wants all Jews and Muslims to convert to Christianity, right?
Yeah, 10% of what she says is completely outrageous, and arguments to get your attention, but some of her positions actually make a lot of sense. Yeah.
She wants all the Jews and Muslims to convert to Christianity. What a wonderful line we got from Ice-T right there. He always says some of the most outrageous shit on this show, from what I've heard. And let's be real for a second. I don't know about the Jews, but the Muslims certainly could use some more Jesus in their lives. If Muslims were Christians, we definitely wouldn't see them getting so violent, authoritarian, and suicidal all the time. And I do like this blonde cop acknowledging reality a bit here. Many of these pundits and public figures do get a little over the top and dramatic. They will say things in purposely hyperbolic and controversial ways. Think Alex Jones or Paul Joseph Watson or even Milo Yiannopoulos. Now that's not to say they're lying or making shit up either. It's just they have a flair for theatrics, if you know what I'm saying. But some people don't. And some people, like Ice-T's character, it appears, they probably believe this bravado is all real and meant to be taken literally, when sometimes it's really not.
Like closing down Planned Parenthood or deporting the Dreamers. Okay, we are in a bubble here, though. Half the country is pro-life, pro-family values, terrified of radical Islam.
The Dreamers even get a mention here. Nice. That's how Law & Order stays relevant, you guys. They name drop euphemisms like Dreamers, which is a new buzzword the left likes to use instead of calling them immigrants or even illegals. They also mentioned Planned Parenthood here. Well done.
White dude who thinks she's Bob Marley.
Yeah, without the positive vibrations.
Inappropriate time for a joke, Ice. You're looking for a fucking rapist, dude. God damn. But that was a great Bob Marley reference, I gotta say. And I'm really not surprised the first suspect here looks like Jeff Holiday. But let's not get ahead of ourselves either. Usually the first suspect isn't right.
We saw the video. You did a fine job of disturbing the peace.
And I was protecting peaceful protesters.
You wore a mask and rushed the stage.
Well, what about the scum that Martha Cobb attracts, huh? Nazis? Klan?
So you attacked her?
This shit is just too damn over the top, but honestly, people talk like this online already. I wouldn't be surprised if Antifa dum-dums were calling everyone Nazis in real life too. I've seen some of it before.
She got hurt?
Yeah, she was sexually assaulted with a cardboard tube.
Cool. When's the parade?
But you happy about that?
Well, maybe that's what she gets for blaming a hurricane that killed 50 people on the mayor's sexual orientation.
You see, this just makes the left look worse. They laugh and say women deserve raping because they don't agree with them. Regardless of what she may have said about this hurricane and shit, you don't wish that upon anyone. I've seen this in the real world too, in some ways. Not as bad, but when I lost my Twitter a week ago, I saw plenty of comments and victory laps taken by lefties, basking in someone else's misfortune. And now that I think of it, they were calling me Nazis then too for no reason. Wow, Law & Order actually got something right here. When the blonde recovers, she returns to the police station to see if she can identify her attacker. But before that, she gets in this zinger about Obama and Trump.
Which people are you referring to? Let me guess. You cried tears of joy when Obama was elected. Said you'd move to Canada if Trump ever got in, yet here you are.
After that, the blonde identifies white Bob Marley as her rapist, but in a questionable way that leaves us guessing if it's true. Outside the courthouse, Antifa Boy's lawyer speaks with the public, again referencing fascists. Good thing we aren't playing a drinking game for every time they mention Nazis in this episode. I'd already be drunk and starting to fall asleep, like VidCon. Next, the detectives continue to investigate because they're not sure Blondie identified the right guy, or more specifically, they think she's lying to either cover up for the right-wingers or to opportunistically attack the left with rape claims, or maybe both. They come across a new suspect though, Randy Platt, who makes this interesting video for his social media.
It's time white men stop being cucks and stand up to these uppity bitches. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. If we need to use violence to take our country back from the cultural elites, the globalist dupes.
What a hilariously over-the-top portrayal of some sort of men's rights, white nationalist, KKK type garbage. I suppose it's only fair NBC overtly stereotyped these guys since they did the same to Antifa, kinda. But in my estimation, the Antifa portrayal was meant to be as bad as this, but it actually came off a lot closer to reality. But this right-wingers portrayal is just insane. I've never seen any pro-Nazi KKK guys like this except in the movies. This is some American History X level shit right here. And now that I think of it, liberals and lefties kind of think all conservatives are this way at this point. We're all a bunch of bald-headed Edward Nortons who curb stop anyone who's not white. When they bring the evil white man in for questioning, he drops in his favorite line once he gets to the police station.
Did you find the Antifa cuck who tried to kill me and my mother?
Not in our jurisdiction.
I think the word cuck is officially dead now, guys, and NBC and the left killed it. The other detectives talk about how Evil White was doxxed, and they found his house and bombed it. When finally confronted for questioning, we discover that White is a grand wizard in a right-wing organization he founded. Then he says this.
Grand wizard? That's something from Harry Potter, right? Go ahead, laugh. You thank me when we make America great again.
You gotta love NBC trying their best to tie together Trump, conservatives, the KKK, and Nazis. Talk about dramatics. No wonder no one takes this shit seriously anymore. They might as well say Trump is a vampire and conservatives are undead zombie followers who eat brains.
Well, remind me, when was it so great?
Beautiful. Couple of libtards on my case.
Yeah, well, let's talk about where you were during the Martha Cobb speech.
Hey, I like saying libtards. Shit, this guy's making me self-reflect a little too much. Let's just move along. The case finally goes to trial where, after questioning Antifa Bob Marley, evil white man takes the stand. He says cuck again because, of course he does, and then they get to this bit about his ethno-state.
Which members of the jury would your group want to purge?
Objection.
I'll allow it. You may answer.
Him, her, him, her.
Step out of this courtroom and I'll kick the living crap out of you.
Again, it really seems like the right is getting much worse, more over-the-top treatment from the writers here. They are Hollywood elites after all, and it really shows. While the Antifa guy is bad, all he really does is call people Nazis all the time, and have that stupid corn singer haircut. The white supremacist guy, on the other hand, is all hating on everyone, hating on women and blacks and every race and everything. He even calls this guy a Jew or possibly gay, which I thought was hilarious, by the way. But it's way too much.
Oh, and just to finish my answer, flannel shirt in the back row. I can't tell if he's a Jew and or a homosexual. We'd have to conduct some research into him.
But even though it's way too much, I have to say, it's pretty fucking funny. The case is pretty close too. It's up in the air who really did the rape at the end. Blondie blames the Antifa fag, but she admits it's hard to remember. Evil white man looks pretty damn terrible too, and possibly guilty since he had motive. Blondie turned down his sexual advances at a bar the night before, completely embarrassing him. In the end, Blondie's lawyer tries questioning evil white man, but it goes south quick. The lawyer realizes what a prick he is and decides to surprisingly call it quits and just get the case dismissed. This racist ticked him off so much that the lawyer is willing to ignore the physical evidence and let a potential rapist go free and declare that the case can never be tried again. So much for justice in this episode. Even the liberal detective thinks Blondie deserves her day in court, but nevertheless, Blondie fares relatively well after the case is dismissed, revealing to the cop that she plans to write her own book on the experience, condemning the criminal justice system. And after all, she is a pundit who refuses to act like the kind of spineless victim that she ridicules. And there goes the last shred of sympathy we're allowed to have for her, for a conservative woman who suffered rape. Even at the end, this whole thing comes down to politics, in the episode and with the writers, and in the real world representations. And that wraps things up on this very controversial Law & Order episode. A weird ending, I have to say. I couldn't tell if Blondie was lying or if Antifa guy got away with it, or maybe even evil white man was guilty. Either way though, I would say the stereotypes and portrayals here were obviously over the top and a bit left-leaning. Sure, they provide us with some laughs there, but it was definitely not their intention. NBC and the writers have really showed their bias here and their willingness to not only make this blonde victim of a brutal rape, but also make her appear to be lying and an opportunistic phony. And let's not forget this episode is called InfoWars, and that blonde is based on a real reporter for them. Millie Weaver really got shafted in this story, pun intended, and I really don't think she deserves it. Millie does great field work for InfoWars. I think she's smart, beautiful, and deserving of respect. What do you guys think? Does anyone even watch Law & Order anymore? Was this episode too stereotypical and over the top? And ultimately, was it still left-leaning? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.